April 15th, 2024. Welcome guests, and let's pledge of allegiance.
2025.
2025, I'm sorry.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Okay. So at this time, I will call Chris up. He probably needs to get back to work.
Do you want to do the
Oh, roll
attendance?
call. Sorry about that. Hold on, Chris. Let's see. You can tell I'm new at this. Let's see, where's my roll call at here?
Agenda item number 1.
Okay. Melody Anderson.
Present.
John Gilland's here. Steve Hargraves.
Present.
Harry Mullenhour. Present. Steve Nelson absent. Lynn Snyder absent. Tabitha Trent absent. We do not have a quorum. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you? Good. Thank you. So, I'll read this. Presented to Christopher Weeks in recognition of 10 years of service as an employee of the Okeechobee Utility Authority. Presented this 15th day of April 2025. And I believe the little check that goes with that.
Good deal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, wait, I gotta get a picture.
back
Oh,
You sure can get on
you want to use the camera when you get done taking this?
Hey, pretend like you're holding your numbers and going to.
Hold on.
There we go.
Oh, sorry about that.
And just for the record, that's 10 plus 17,
Okay.
because he left us and come back.
Well, I'm glad you did
27
that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We accidentally left the door open. Chris, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Chris. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting for any public comments. None? Okay, let's see. Any questions on the consent agenda? Would anybody like to ask, discuss? John, any comments on that? Anything in the consent agenda?
No, sir, they're good. If you don't mind, if there are any, we'll certainly take them, but we can't take any action. If we had any other mistakes like last time, or changes or additions.
Orson, anything you'd like to discuss about the budget?
Not at this meeting.
Okay.
No, there's nothing.
So the only next thing, John, would be item 17, if there were any kind of comments or additions or changes to the meeting minutes of March 18th.
Any comments or additions?
It looked good to me.
So if we want to just go through them real quick, if that's okay. We can't take action, but I can at least talk about what's on the agenda. Item number 20, we did get the grant award in from the Department of Commerce, and unfortunately, they put my name down as opposed to the chairman's. When I went back to them, they said it would take weeks to get it changed. So I will be sending out an email after this meeting, whether authorizing us to go ahead and accept the award, and I can sign it and send it back to them. If you remember at the meeting last month, you approved the contract with CHA Solutions to do the work. This will just be the vehicle that we can get it paid. I don't need to know how y'all think, but if you got questions, on it, feel free to ask me now, otherwise you'll get an email. Item 21, ozone. You can see in the board package again, prepared and submitted as an informational purpose. We did get a quote in for the company that did the refurbishment last time, to give us a refurbishment quote to redo the other ozone generator. That's been signed and issued to them, so that work is scheduled. And we are actively pursuing chiller quotes rather than extending the rental agreement for another time period. Since it has worked, we're going to investigate just purchasing a chiller unit rather than renting, but that would be coming back at a later meeting. Item 22, again, you'll get an email on this asking your consent or approval or denial of doing this, but there is one piece of property that's been identified by the engineering group. We've got the appraisal, we've got an offer that has been prepared by the attorney, Tom Conley, he started the work. Secured the appraisal, whether the board's in favor of purchasing that property. It'll be one of 5 or 6 that we need for pump stations for Treasure Island. So in your package would be, there's the appraisal and the map of that parcel. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, look for an email.
Don't have a whole lot of choice about purchasing it, right? I mean, we need it.
Well, we have to find 6 of them, so they have to be in a general location. I think I gave you this overall map. Let's see if I can make this smaller. That didn't, I don't know if I gave you the overall map showing you where the 6 locations were. But we have to find something in that general area. Let's see. No, I didn't get it. But there's 6 sites, so we'll pursue finding something in all of those. Is there any other questions on the
250,000, is that 250,000?
Yes, sir, it's actually 2 parcels. House, vacant property. I mean, they basically said all or nothing. You want to see where it is?
That's what I was trying to.
Let's see. I don't know that I put one in here.
Yeah, the plan drawing only shows the east parcel.
Yeah.
So if you look at that drawing, you can see a driveway to the west and the roof. That's all part of the second parcel.
Can that be split then and the house resold, or?
It's not much of a structure.
No.
How much land is actually involved in it?
I think it's a little over 2 acres, but let me. So it's going to be this parcel, which is 0.3 acres, and this parcel, which is somewhere in here, 0.7. So it looks like it's a total of 1 acre. It's this parcel and this parcel. Should be both of them in there.
And that's because it's on the 441 that the price is so high?
Most likely. Yeah, I have to go back through the, the comparables that was in the appraisal report and see what established the price.
Get double the frontage that one
Oh,
parcel
yeah.
would have had, so.
And the advantage of that is, John, to be right there, what's the advantage to have that piece right there?
It was one of 6 chosen by the engineering group when they laid out the network where the vacuum pump stations needed to be.
That's what I was asking, is there a line there? Is that the purpose?
There's a line going down 441, yes, sir.
Okay.
Item 23, again, this is just closing out the first phase of the State Road 78 water main. There will be a change order deleting the unused monies out of contingency. There will be a final pay request to close out that project to pay them their retainage and their remaining money. So you'll see it here. There's a work directive that tells them they need to, that we spent this money on some additional piping, testing, that came out of the contingency money. The change order number 1 is removing the remaining unspent contingency money, and then the final pay application of $39,705 to PRP. So in the email, you get 3 requests, asking for approval to sign those appropriate documents and get them paid. And that will complete phase 1, which is from Southwest 16th Avenue down to just past in front of Shriners, I think it used to be.
What was the Shrine Club?
Was the Shrine Club. So 24, we'll again be signing some documents with DEP for a state easement to cross Lemkin Creek. Right here, this little red area. That's for the phase 2 project. It's just an easement, typical standard state of Florida easement that I need to sign, or somebody needs to sign. So we just need approval for that. Here is the easement document. Steve, I believe did you have a chance to look through that? Any problems?
No, I didn't give you comments? Apologies.
Sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't.
No problem with that
It's
easement.
mine, yeah.
So you got an email on that, and then agenda item 25 is ready to move forward with the phase 2, which will start here at the Shrine Club and go through Lemkin Creek, stopping just to the south of Lemkin Creek. We have all the permits in hand now. Once we get the easement, we're good to go. I will, if the board is receptive to this, we'll put it out to bid for public construction. We'll also put out the materials for bid and bring all those results back to the OUA board at some future meeting where we'll have pricing, the developer agreement, shared costs, bring it all back to the board. At that time, you would say yes or no to doing project 2, which will again eliminate 6-inch water main and 8-inch water main, and we'll be installing a 16-inch water main in its place. Employee merit pay. It's up for, in the budget, to have a merit evaluation this budget year. We've started the process of doing the individual supervisor, director of operations evaluations of each employee. We'll bring those back, tabulate them, and apply merit raises to how those folks all ranked with their peers, and they're going to get the raise, a raise if they're due one. So it might be, the target is 4% overall for the company. It really comes down to their rankings. Conceivably, somebody might get 4.1%, somebody else might get 2.9%, but the overall net effect for the OUA is we're striving to get 4% out in as an average overall through the company. For everyone except me. And we'll bring all that back to you. Staff reports. Jamie, do you have anything of Jamie with what he's found in his operations report? Jamie, do you have anything you need to go over? Okay.
No. Any questions from my report? Had some safety training, CPR, and then had a safety committee meeting. All departments. General maintenance, normal operations. Still looking for an advertising for a licensed operator at the wastewater plant. I think we got a guy going to take his test into this month at the wastewater plant.
On the safety committee, I can tell you one outcome of that meeting was since January, we've had either 3 or 4 accidents. Most, if not all of them, very low impact type accidents. No injuries to speak of, but damage to property. So I had a point to talk to supervisors that we have to get a handle on this. It's way too many, and darned if in the next week we didn't have 3 more accidents. So as staff, we're trying to figure out what we need to do next, as far as maybe to bring in somebody for additional training. I'm kind of the belief that we had rolled back in the personnel manual I'll say penalties for accidents, and maybe we made them too lax. And we need to reevaluate that because it's my firm belief whether most of these accidents, whether our employee was cited or not, I'm a firm believer that with defensive driving, there's something they could have done better to not have the accident at all. Where they parked the vehicle, how, there's lots of things they can do, and we need to go back and look at that. So I'm just telling you, there's been no injuries. There has been damage to public property, OUA property, and it's a high value with us right now that we need to go back and look at that. Because we're a moment away of having a bad accident. Little ones add up to big ones. So yes, it is a concern. Jamie, Greg, myself, supervisors, we're all going to try to address this.
Any questions?
The esteemed Mr. Larson, is there anything you want to go over?
No, there's not much in the finance support. Nothing stand out this month. I don't know if there's anything, any question anyone has from the summary that is presented there.
Do you want to mention anything about the rate studies, Larson?
Yes, the next agenda. So before we move on to the next,
I was just going to talk about this briefly. Again, it's just what we use to track things, how our expenses and revenue stream are matching up with at least budget projections. There's some inequities in this whole table, but at least positive actual year-to-date revenue versus the budget is trending well, and the same for expenses. They're trending lower than what was budgeted. Again, that's just a trend that we like to keep up with, and since we're at the halfway point, it's a good thing. But that's all I can tell you about the finance report. There's a lot of other things in here to look at, the different variances, but it's presented as today informational purposes only. We will have to bring this back at the next board meeting for any kind of acceptance. But we would be happy to answer any questions you might have. If not, we'll go to the item that you wanted to ask about, our financial forecast. So we have, we went ahead, we had a request from staff looking at an issue with our large potential users coming in, whether they're industrial or domestic. And so we wanted to try to address, is there a different rate classification that we could have as the OUA to better serve these large water users? Well, if we were to do that, then that will have an impact on our overall rate scale and revenue stream. So it was decided that we would like to go ahead and move up from next year, 2026, FY26, to this year to do our rate analysis forecasting overall for the company, as well as to look at this, this application of larger demand. Larger demand, again, might be example with a big planned unit development coming in, 5,000, 1,500 users, whether we wanted to establish that as a master metered account as opposed to individually metering the units. And what we don't really have in play a way to best capture that financially. Yes, we don't have to prepare, say if it's 1,500 homes. Yes, we don't have to prepare 1,500 bills. We don't have to read 1,500 meters. We don't have to take 1,500 payments. What is that lower overhead cost to us, and how best can we recover that from, say, the homeowners association? That's the kind of things that we need to look at. If it is a industrial user, in their processing, they just use thousands of gallons of water. Again, it would be one bill, one reading, one payment. How best can we utilize that and still recover our fees? So that's the kind of stuff that we need to look at from a large user standpoint. So you'll be getting a email to that effect, whether we can go ahead and enter into this agreement with our rate consultant, and we get it started and moving forward. We need to do it now because the time constraint of getting it done before we adopt our final budget in September is what's driving this. We need to get this done by late July, middle of August, so that we can formulate FY26.
And they would be water use only, no septic.
No, it would be water and wastewater.
And wastewater.
Yes, sir.
So who's our biggest user now?
You know, do you know who that is? I can guess. It's either going to be something like the jail or the hospital, would be my guess, one of our bigger users. Single use. You know, there's KOA has 2 meters, but they're, you know, they're a pretty big player. And Larson, do you have anything you want to add to that?
The only thing I'd add is that while we look at the study for the master meter, inserting a new layer into the rate schedule, we had asked the rate consultant to provide an estimate for that job. He gave us an estimate. If you roll down, you'll see it. He gave us an estimate, and then we had previously spoken to the rate consultant. We're scheduled to do our normal forecast, 5-year forecast next year in FY26. So we had also asked separately for an estimate in that, and we got 46,500 to do that projected study. Basically what that study does is to look at the 5-year plan and to ensure the viability of the OUA, ensure that our debts and those things are covered. So together with the large scale and the 5-year plans, having separate estimates, we came up with $84,000. So we took the opportunity to ask him, what about if he should twin both studies? And therefore we got a combined rate of 67,500. Now, this is just information that we were planning to put to the board. It's really the board decision as to how the board would like us to go. But we do have the possibility of having roughly, I think, about $16,000 reduction because next year we would be undertaking that study of the 5-year forecast rate study. So the board can consider, do we want to keep it separate or do we want to merge and have both? The consultant has confirmed that he is able to make a presentation at the August 18th, I think, board meeting, the August board meeting, which would be the month before our September confirmation of the budget and the rates. So just for information purpose, that would be a value to us, you know. So we would be starting FY26. The budget and everything would have been so included and taken into consideration the new category, the large users, but also he would have reviewed our rate structures and make any necessary tweak or adjustments that needed. So that's just the part that I will add for the board information.
So you're thinking we're gonna have some 5,000 home units coming in, John?
There are projections at this time that there could be 4,000 or 5,000 unit north of town. There is a 1,200 to 1,400 planned development on Charlie Harvey. And in Buckhead Ridge, there are models going up right now for a planned 1,500 unit, but there could be more. So one is actually under construction right now. 2 others are in the planning stages. There are, again, numerous industrial parks being discussed. There has nothing been shared what kind of units are going in there. Don't know if they're dry or wet. I mean, I don't know anything. Is it going to happen? Possibly. The situation is, it's been, again, discussed that right now we do not have a provision in our rate structure for a large user. And the question is, can there be a large user added at what expense such that it benefits the OUA as well as the large water user or wastewater?
It benefits the OUA because they have less involvement in reading meters and...
Well, the savings to both the end user as well as the OUA. Let's say it's 1,500 homes. We don't read 1,499 meters. We don't prepare those same number of bills every month, and we don't take that number of payments. So there is not that expense. So the question is, should that savings be passed on to the end user, which might be the HOA?
Would our regular customers have an increase in their cost as time goes on?
The intent is that, the short answer is, the intent is no. Because if there's a savings, that savings should only be shared with the end user, but it should not increase our cost. Let me make it this way. The volumetric rate, which does cost us money, they would pay the full amount for the chemicals, the electric, to produce the water or to treat the wastewater. The only thing we're talking about here is that base charge, which is an administrative charge to cover our fees, that we're talking about possibly adjusting. Does that make sense? Each bill that a ratepayer gets, on the water side, there's two general components. You got your base charge, which is all the overhead, whether you use any water or not, what does it cost to run the system? And then your volumetric charge, the charge for the amount of water you use. Same on the wastewater, the overall charge, the base charge, and then the volumetric charge for the wastewater you produce. We're not really talking about adjusting the volumetric charges, only those base charges. And if in the base charge, there is a component for reading the meter, producing a bill, mailing it, receiving payment, if we're not going to have that on these big users, who should see that reduction? So it should not impact other ratepayers, because we're still going to have an administrative charge that for the overhead costs not associated with reading a meter, producing a bill, and receiving payment. They would still pick up that, and then the volumetric charge they would still produce. So it should not impact other ratepayers. Hope that's a long-winded answer to your question. Any other questions?
Definitely a significant reduction in workload by not having to, deal with 1,500 meters.
Or whatever the number is.
Right, yeah.
Whatever the number is.
Well, I guess, John, we were talking the other day about the plant up north, about remodeling it, getting it on board, so that's a cost to the OUA. Is that because we're gonna need to produce more water for these?
You're talking about the groundwater plant?
Yes.
So the groundwater plant, we don't use because of the hard water. And the question is, if we're looking at our consumptive use, long-term consumptive use, having that additional 1 million gallons is a benefit to the OUA. We already have the structure, we have the plant, we should be able to use it. So that will help us with the overall demand to the system, whether it's steady infill growth or whether it's bigger outside growth.
I guess my question is, if we're gonna produce more water for people and we have to increase our infrastructure, who's gonna pay for that?
So that's a good question. So let's say like the development that's going in, if you remember under the State Road 78 Phase 1, that cost was split 50-50 between the developer and the OUA. So if we move forward with Phase 2, which we talked about here, I would assume there would be some cost share there that whatever that cost is may be at that same going rate, 50-50. The developer is paying 100% of the pipeline that's going in between the water tower and their development. They're paying 100% of that. So under some developments, yes, the developer is tasked with picking up their fair share of the infrastructure improvements that's tied to their development. And overall, the OUA does get some benefit, so we do pay some of that expense for the expansion.
And there's the capital connection charges that they're paying that would help.
Yes, the capital connection charges again are, they're sort of like also known in other areas as an impact fee. The biggest difference between that is that impact fees are taken in by governmental agencies to help defray cost in the future, like if they have to build a fire station, add on to a school, or transportation. Our capital connection charges were a little bit different because development orders aren't given unless we have a treatment plant capacity already in play. So the OUA has already experienced this growth and paid for the treatment plant expansions, and every year we're paying debt service. So the capital connection charges primarily can go for capital expenses that we've already incurred, like treatment plant expansion, because we can't wait for them to connect and then decide to build a treatment plant. We have to have it built, ready to go, before somebody gets a development order. So that's kind of the biggest difference that I see between impact fees charged by counties and cities versus the capital connection charge of the OUA. So does that kind of help answer the question? Yes, in many instances, developers do pay towards their expansion needs. Not always, usually. And I say not always. If there's an existing water main there, say 12-inch, and a developer puts in 20 homes, they don't necessarily pay for any new water line. They use the water line that's already there. So they did not pay for any impact other than what you mentioned, the capital connection charge. I know.
I'm just asking questions, John, because I don't want to go back and say, well, we should have thought about this, or we should have thought about something else, because we just decided not to increase the connection fees until April 30th. And part of it was, you were looking for that money to increase our infrastructure, to do things in the plants. And now we're going to turn around and give a discount to a large user.
Potentially there is a discount. And again, it is only for the administrative costs that we won't have. It has nothing to do with the volumetric charge or anything else that factors into that overhead value.
Because you already mentioned we're going to have to hire more employees, correct? We'll have to increase our workforce as this grows.
There is no doubt that as we add new wastewater collection systems, or even if we put the groundwater plant back online, we may have to hire additional staff. Yes, sir. So that will go into this overhead cost that we're talking about, the administrative charge, which everybody will pay.
Somebody has to pay for these employees.
Yes, and that would be the new development as well as, the existing revenue stream. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Good discussion.
And we're not done yet, sir. So we will have several months to look at draft reports and get updates. So until we get to the final report that would be presented in August. This is just one of those deals that takes months to do. And if we're going to get the benefit of it for FY26, yes, sir, we need to have this done by August.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions on that? Items from our attorney?
Thank you. Good morning. Just two items. A week from today, we have the closing on our USDA sewer grant. And so a lot of the work I've been doing lately, and with Lauriston's help, actually has provided a lot of older draft documents. So thank you for that. We have that coming up. And, well, I guess as of late, I'm working on an amendment to the interlocal agreement. But in terms of what I've been doing, is been preparing for this closing on the 22nd. And I believe we are going to need the chair, right? Or we're going to need somebody from the board, no, to close?
It was set up for the chairman, but then due to the health, it was switched to the vice chairman.
Really?
So the paperwork is already switched for the vice chairman. I would propose that we just keep it as the vice chairman rather than, speaking for
whatever works for the USDA is, it works for them, it works for us. So that's all. Thank you.
John?
I can tell you have everything there that you can see. We're trying to get Pine Ridge Park closed out with the contractor. I think they're down to one thing that they still have to supply to us, a weather-tight warranty for the roof. I believe everything else has been fixed. but until they can provide the appropriate documentation for the weather type warranty on the roof, we've been holding their fees until they get that together. The only other thing I can talk about quickly, Project 2, Southwest Service Area. They're moving ahead with that. Is it going to make this deadline that you see in here, that it is May 18th, no, May 13th, and final of June 26th? I don't know, still up in the air. But they are working towards it. They're getting closer. We'll just have to wait and see if they can actually get to the May 13th substantial completion date, which means that we could take beneficial use of the system as of May 13th. It's fully operational. We'll see. This being April 15th, we'll be able to tell you at the next board meeting whether they made their substantial completion date on Southwest Service Area. The only other thing we can tell you that we got some bad news and good news with applications, grants and stuff. All of the DEP grant money that we applied for last year, May, June timeframe, AMI, Southwest Fifth Avenue, septic sewer, none of that was picked up by the state. We got a thank you, but no thank you, but submit again if you want to type of response. But we did hit on the TMDL grant, which was basically for connection septic to sewer. That was approved. It's a long time. It's still like another year before we would see that money, but that was approved. We applied for a energy efficiency grant through FTAX to upgrade a regional pump station with newer, more efficient pumps and motors, generator, control panel. That was approved, so we'll be moving forward with that grant. And then, of course, the grant that we just got the paperwork in from Commerce Department for paying for the Northeast Plains County wastewater master plan effort. That came through. So we are still in the running at the state level legislature right now for some monies for Southwest Fifth Avenue. We still have a long way to go. We have to go through the conference hearings where the legislature, the representatives and the senators get together in conference to produce a budget. That budget then goes to the governor's desk. The governor has the ability to veto anything, line item veto, or sign and approve the budget. So we still have a way to go there before we see if that Southwest Fifth Avenue money is approved. So we will get ready to go again to DEP in the May-June timeframe, and we'll still pursue the federal funding. I guess we mentioned we were on the list, but because they never passed a federal budget, they did a continuing resolution, that dropped off the radar scheme. So we have to refile, which we have done with Congressman Franklin's office, for the AMI funding at the federal level. So we'll see. We'll keep pursuing it. So anyway, that's kind of my update. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If you have anything. So again, I'll leave it with y'all that there will be emails going out after this board meeting. Because we have bills to pay, consent agenda, you know, that type of deal. We would like to be able to get those paid. Anything that is done by email will be brought back at the next public meeting to have another discussion and, if you will, approval of that action.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Anything from the board? Nothing? I'll adjourn the meeting.
8:50.
Done?
Yeah, yes, sir.